I want to talk to you today about the power of reading one card at a time when it comes to tarot. We call it reading tarot because that's what we're doing. We are looking at the individual cards, and then with a blend of our knowledge of the cards, with the framework of the question, and the added magic of our intuition or our psychic connection, we get something that is more than just the cards themselves. But just like when we read a book, we read it word at a time. And quite often we speed read. But, if we speed read, then we often miss nuances and details. And I am a speed reader. And I'm aware of the difference that happens between when I speed read and when I read for meaning and content. And there are some tarot spreads that I realise pretty quickly they're just telling me what I already know or confirming what the client has said. And then I will turn all the cards really quickly, acknowledge that the cards have told me what we already know, put the spread away, and look at it from a different perspective. So let's take a look at this. So this is a live reading. I'm reading for myself as I'm the only person here. My children, they're just starting to get up actually, which is pretty good at 8:15 for a Sunday morning. And I'm doing my reflection spread, just to check in, as it were, because I think it's really easy with tarot to get totally focused on the future and to forget that actually the most important reading is always the one that gives you advice for right now. Because no matter what choices you've made in the past, no matter what hopes or fears you may have for the future, how you navigate this hour, this day, this week will impact your future. And so there is my deck. I have shuffled, I have cut, I've really focused, and I'm going to pull the first card right now. And it's the Queen of Swords. I have had a rocky couple of weeks. I think many people are at the moment. Life just feels quite tough. There's definitely some stuff going on with my ex-husband, and the Queen of Swords can represent a single or a divorced woman. But one of the things that I have decided that I need to do now is get a lot tighter on my boundaries. I got very much sucked into answering work emails when I wasn't at work, answering work messages when I was on downtime. I allowed all the different areas of my life to blur into one. And the Queen of Swords, I've really decided last night to become ultra focused on when I'm working, when I'm not working, when I'm mum, and when I'm not mum. So that really resonates. The thing is, when you're doing a card at a time, whether you're reading for yourself or whether you're reading for someone else, unless it's by email, of course, you can confirm that the cards resonate. You can check in. Now, the next card in this spread is the card that's crossing me. It's a problem. I don't know what that is. It may be sadness. It may be fear. It may be to do with lack or not having enough. The Four of Cups. Well, the Four of Cups can be patience. And I identify highly with the Suit of Wands, particularly the Page and the Knight of Wands. And in a way, you heard the seed of this card in this one, when I said that I'd allowed all the edges to blur and that I was dealing with both work and family matters when actually I needed to be resting. I am not very good at waiting. If something needs to be done, I'd rather do it now. And I'm not very good at just being still. That is my problem. I would rather see that than sadness, because this is something I can act on really confidently, and it actually makes more sense. But notice how with this crossing card, very often there's a little bit of shadow work there. We may get a general idea of what we expect, but sometimes it's just a little bit outside of what we expected. That means it's something that we're not fully acknowledging. So these two are working really well for me now. They're talking to each other. Card in my unconscious. Arguably, this is the most important card in the whole spread, because what we hold in our unconscious is a genuine foreshadowing of the future, but we can change it. I said I'm onesie, and there we go. So if I'd have done this spread probably 3 days ago, we'd be having very different cards. Actually, the last 2 days I have done a lot of this. I have put headphones on, I have closed the curtains, and I have really rested in a meaningful way. And I am beginning to feel energized, excited, and connected again. I lost that. So I'm happy to see that. What's drawn my eye straight away, and one of the things I love about tarot, is that we may all be looking at this and being drawn by different images in the cards. We need to look at the cards. And as I look at these 3 cards now, I see one sword. I see the secret Ace of Cups, and I see the Ace of Wands, and I feel confident that this is reflecting a new energy and a new beginning. Where have I come from? The card from the past. Page of Wands. Following the pattern of the single sort of almost ace-like image there. And if I'd put all of these out, and I was immediately given the overview of the whole spread, I don't know whether I would have picked up on that. I do identify very much with the Page of Wands. I'm hoping that this is saying I just lost my sense of who I was for a short time. That if I can be better boundaried and allow myself to have good rest, then these core cards that I really identify with are still who I am. But really we need these 2 cards to identify if that's true. These 2 cards are going to make or break the reading. At the moment, I feel quite optimistic about this. It's reflecting that I've got the right focus back. So that was the card that I kind of expected to see here. And actually, I'm glad it's here. Because if any of you have been through trauma as a mother, it's really hard to process your emotions when you still need to work and be a mum. And I've definitely been doing that last couple of weeks, and I think it's been a really positive and powerful experience. So of all the positions for this to be, this is the one I would want it to be. I think last week it would have been there, perhaps, because maybe I was less aware that I was processing my emotions. Maybe I felt more triggered. But right now I am aware that I'm processing emotion, that I am letting go of things that have happened in the past to free up more bandwidth. So now we're hoping, and one of the games that I play in my head when I'm reading tarot is what would be a great card there and what would be an appalling card there. So an appalling card there actually would be the Devil. I would argue that would be one of the worst cards to have there, because what I can see here is movement and freedom and almost like a emotional clearing. So what I don't want to see here is cards that suggest that I can't follow through. Although I'd rather not see the Tower, Arguably, the Tower wouldn't be bad here because the Tower would suggest that that the clearing is continuing to happen. So what we need to see here is either cards of stabilizing, new beginnings, or the continuing clearing. What we don't want to see here is cards of a block or the clearing sort of being halted. So the Five of Pentacles. Not my favourite choice there. But there is the Sixth Pentacle growing out of the Five. These two linked together, the Queen of Swords and the Five of Pentacles, can definitely suggest divorce, endings of marriages. My marriage ended quite some time ago, but due to particular circumstances, it's a bit in my face at the moment. So I think it's very much linked to that. And I think it is a warning. And the future isn't fixed. So I can, and I still haven't looked at the card at the bottom of the pack yet, which is going to be really important. Because these two together, if you remember I said, "Ooh, this looks surprisingly good." These two are going to make or break the reading. Under the circumstances, they are expected, but they're still not good. And what it's really highlighting to me is not to get quickly back into the onesie energy. That this one, or these two, boundaries and good rest, are what's going to allow me to navigate this with more ease. And so suddenly this card that I have a problem with, which is taking quality rest, is absolutely essential if I don't want to get to a place of lack and burnout. And it suggests that I often think with the Five of Pentacles, it's labour, it's travail, it's hard work. And so there's a feeling that I must ensure that my resources are topped up to get through this difficult time. Card at the bottom of the pack. Well, obviously it's a 4. So immediately we have a link between these two. And the Four of Swords is the card of rest. It's about peace and rest. But it's also about, we have a sort of a similar feeling between these two, where we have, the Three of Cups and the Two of Cups. We have the Three of Swords and the Ace of Swords, and a feeling of processing the emotion to allow a new beginning. And a feeling that I really need to step out of Page of Wands, which I love. I'm really comfortable with the bubbly, oh my god, this is so exciting, let's run with it, Page of Wands, into a very calm, collected Queen of Swords, which is boundaries and ensuring that I have enough time for good quality rest to allow me to process these two. Now, I'm a little bit apprehensive about doing this, but what I'm going to do is I want a clarity card for this. I want to know, is this a long-term process? Is this, how much of a warning is this? So what I've done is I've left the cards out. And if I'd have turned all the cards at once, I think I would have gone straight to these two. Because they are a worrying combo. There's no doubt about it. And I don't think that I would have fully taken on board the message of the other cards. Because I think we all do that. If there is a spread with a particularly scary or a particularly optimistic outcome, it is easy to jump to that and to not take the time to read well the rest of the spread. So I'm just going to ask, what do I need to know about the Five of Pentacles? And I'm going to combine the Clarity card with the card at the bottom of the pack, just to give some more insight. And I would do that for a client as well, because I think it's even though it's only the short term outcome, I think it's always harsh to leave a prediction spread on a difficult card, unless it just unless you think, yeah, that's the ending that I wanted, that really resonates. So I'm just going to ask, what do I need to know about that Five of Pentacles? And again, I'm going to do one card at a time. So in some ways, I'm kind of glad to see the Page of Swords there, because the Five of Pentacles can be financial lack, and particularly when compared to the Four of Swords, it can be physical health. With the Page of Swords there, it suggests that this is more to do with mental health than it is financial lack or physical health. And that's great, because of those three, I think mental health is something that I am fairly well equipped to deal with well, particularly if we're taking on board these three cards. So there is a real feeling that the way that I ease or navigate this is by paying particular attention to not allowing, I often say with the Page of Swords, don't allow the birds of worry to settle in the mind. So I'm comfortable with that. Card at the bottom of the pack, not take on too much work at any one point. And of course in my life that includes family commitments as well as work commitments. So I feel better for that. It puts this into perspective of really being about quality rest and good boundaries, and suggests that maybe there isn't something else hidden behind this, because this would be taking on too much responsibility, too many burdens, and this would be anxiety and overthinking. And I just wanted to really clearly demonstrate how turning one card at a time can make reading the cards easier, because it allows each card one by one to have the center focus of your attention.